Well, good morning. I'm Jim Moore, and you are watching Justice for America. It's March 5th, and this is episode number 84. We're going to jump right into talking about Steve Adams. Some of you know Steve Adams. He's a reporter for the Blaze, for Glenn Beck Blaze Network. We're going to talk about him, his arrest, and subsequent jail time. Texas being under assault in a number of ways. We want to talk about that. And nuclear Russia. Is Russia going to make good on its threats to use nuclear weapons in the conflict in Ukraine that's growing around the world? So, but first, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell, hit the notification bell. If you are watching this on YouTube, you are likely watching it on the channel Justice for America. We have two channels. One is Words of Encouragement. One is Justice for America. And so encourage you to subscribe to that channel so you don't miss any of these posts. All right, there's a lot that's going on in the world right now, and this program is, the intention of this program is to make you aware, to keep you informed so that you know how to posture yourself in the days in which God has permitted you to live. You're not here by accident. None of us are here by accident. We have a purpose in this time frame where we've been placed, and we're here for a reason, and it's not just to survive. It's to be a blessing to others, to encourage others, to help do what's right in our world, and not just to be afraid and be silent. That's happening a lot. If we walk away from this and other programs and we're fearful, or we kowtow to the powers that be, or whatever, then we failed. This is about standing up and becoming a voice for righteousness, for what's good. All right. So we encourage you also to share the program. Let's jump right in and talk about lawfare. Now, maybe you've heard this phrase recently, lawfare. What is lawfare? Well, think about the word warfare. Warfare is when you make war with an individual or a group of people. Warfare. Now, lawfare is when you are making war with an individual or a group of people through using the law. Okay, and I think I spoke on this a little last week. It's important that you understand this. Somebody said, "You show me a ham sandwich, I could have died a ham sandwich." Okay, sounds funny, but the reality is, the average American, they say, has probably 9 transgressions. You know, laws have become so superficial and so expansive that the point from the legal professionals that they say anybody can be found guilty of something. All right, so the question becomes, what is really relevant? What is really important? One of the primary things that has to happen in the legal system is a law. When you're charged with something, means that somebody else was hurt. Somebody else, there was a victim of a crime. A crime that has to have a victim. All right. I'm going to throw at you a couple of videos that I already put in last week, but I just have a feeling a lot of people haven't watched them, so I put them in again, and I strongly encourage you, don't think, I don't really need to watch this. These two you really, really need to watch. Now, I've got 3 or 4 that I call must see. What I do is I'll show you a few clips of different videos, but I want to release you so that you can begin to act upon this, hopefully, this conviction that's coming upon you, what you can do. The first thing you can absolutely do is watch these videos, watch these links, or read these short little documents. You know, there's a number of them. It won't take you that long to go through them, so that you will, number 1, be informed. Okay? Then number 2, what do you do about being informed? That's between you and your God. I think you should pray. I'm a man of prayer, so I think the very first thing you should do, you'd be good to take these links in and just pray and say, God, you know, have your way with these. All right. So the first one is, again, one that I showed, but I'm going to do it again. This is from a man who is currently under the lawfare. Now, some of you know this man. His name is Peter Navarro. He was a uh, a White House. He was an advisor to Donald Trump when he was in office. Okay, an advisor to the president. Charges have been brought against him that I'm just going to go on record as saying are illegitimate. Okay, they just are. All right, I don't have time to go into it. Now, here's the thing. You get a bunch of lawyers together, and again, they can indict a ham sandwich, right? They're going to make all kinds of arguments, all kind of $25 words, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is he was just doing what every other White House advisor has done. This always comes down to a man. It comes down to an individual. They are determined that he will not get in the White House again, and I'm not going to apologize for saying this. My personal belief, and this is my POV, my point of view, there's nothing they would not be willing to do so long as they could get away with it to keep him from getting in. There have been people that have come out basically and said that we're willing to do whatever it takes for him not to get in. Now, that's a scary statement. That really is. That's a terrifying statement that those in positions of power would openly say these words, okay? Don't call me a conspiracy, because that's not what this is. That's me repeating what they said. We're willing to do anything to keep him out. So that is a big deal. Now, what's the big deal about that? I'm going to show you the clip. Because if it can happen, then once you cross that Rubicon, once you've crossed the line in the sand and said we're willing to do whatever, okay, we're willing to do whatever. That doesn't stop there. Now, most of you know when you start walking down the road of these things, it grows. Okay, it grows. It's like leaven. It increases, and it grows and grows. So I want to show you this clip. This is from Peter Navarro. Now, I think the very act of him going to CPAC and talking about what's about to happen to him is tremendously courageous. Most of us won't even take the time to comment on something we see as controversial. I put out a post the other day about Oregon, and they're trying to pass a law to where parents can't even protest against the pornographic material that is in their public school systems and their little children are seeing. Now, I'm not talking about taking it out of the school. I'm talking about a law they're trying to pass to keep anybody from even saying anything about it. You see, this thing increases as it goes. And if you and I don't stand up and say something about it, eventually it will come home to you and to your kids. And so this clip, the reason I said that is I put that post on Facebook. I got one response. Out of the 5,000 people that are friends, one. I'm telling you, this is not right. Okay? All right. So anyway, just want to show this to you. Let's go to clip number 1. This is sobering words from a victim of lawfare named Peter Navarro. Play clip number 1.
Most serious 6 minutes you're going to have, I think, probably in this whole thing, but you need to hear this. And what I'm going to talk about is this thing called lawfare that President Trump talked a lot about today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but this is, my judgment, one of the most important things we're facing. So, what is this thing? Lawfare, partisan politics by weaponized justice means. Let's look at what's going on. Democrats, Biden, Garland, and Smith, Bragg, James, and Willis, and a sizable chunk of the radical wing of the Democrat Party not only want to stop Republican Donald Trump from retaking the White House, they want this presidential titan, and I was there when he was that titan, and providential titan who kept our nation in prosperity and out of war for 4 beautiful years. They want him to die cruelly in prison. We must face that reality. If you don't believe they may well succeed, just look at my own situation as I stand before you on this stage as a former high-ranking Trump official now just weeks away from a prison cell. The parallels between my own and Trump's case are indeed striking. I am the first senior White House advisor ever convicted of contempt of Congress. Trump is the first former president ever to be criminally indicted. I was put in leg irons by armed FBI agents who far more easily could have asked for my voluntary surrender. Trump was the target of an equally unnecessary armed FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. I was indicted by the Biden-Garland Department of Justice despite a more than 50-year policy against compelled congressional testimony by senior White House officials like me. DOJ's hypocrite prosecutors would falsely argue to my jury that I had acted above the law when they knew damn well I was simply honoring the Constitution, fulfilling my oath of office, and obeying the law the Department of Justice's own Office of Legal Counsel had long articulated and supported. Now, here's the deal. Listen carefully. Trump likewise faces a dizzying array of charges and more than 700 years in prison based on equally novel and baseless applications of laws and statutes that have been tortured and twisted by partisan prosecutors.
Okay, now, if that does not move your heart, then you need a heart checkup. Here's a guy just doing his job. I'm going to say this, I do not believe he's broke the law at all. This is about sending a message that if you cross us, do we realize what happens when a person goes to jail? It is perhaps among the most horrific things that can happen to a human being. To be put in a concrete cell, to be subject to the cartel gangs that rule most of those prisons, to be assaulted, to eat food that is not fit for animals. I mean, you cannot imagine, unless you've been there, how bad this is. And to put a human being in that position just because you don't like them and you want to send a message to the rest of the country that we're going to do this to you. Listen, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. All right, let's move on to the next one. Now, this one I'm not going to show a clip. This was Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tanks. Again, repeating this one from last week. You need to digest this in your heart. This is a super smart man. Don't always like his personality. Calls himself Mr. Wonderful. I don't agree with that because but he very succinctly says, here's what's going on with Donald Trump. I don't know that he's a big Trump fan. It doesn't matter. It's just the truth. You see, we're looking at this thing like about personalities. Well, I like Biden or I don't like him. I like Trump or I don't. This is way, way bigger. I'm gonna say this, okay? I think God is allowing these things to happen in the theater of the globe to send us a message. So as long as we're talking about personalities and we're missing the message because we're missing what's actually happening, then it's for nothing. We need to understand what's going on. And so Kevin gives he's saying, here's what's happened. This is all just foolishness. It's ridiculousness. You ought to see that. Number 3, back to Steve Adams. I said Steve Adams. I'm sorry. It's Steve Baker. I don't know why I say that. I had it in my head it was Steve Adams, but it's actually Steve Baker. So Steve Baker is a journalist for the Blaze Network, which is very, very popular. It's, I don't even know how to say how much impact the Blaze has had in truth-telling into the planet. So, Steve was and is a journalist, a reporter for the Blaze, all right, for Glenn Beck and the Blaze. So this is clip number 2, and this is about Steve, very similar to Peter Navarro being arrested. Now, I've got 3 links here. I won't go into all of them in detail, but I will say there's one before that Glenn did before he was arrested, talking about what are your charges. Now I want you to picture this. FBI comes to your door, guns blazing. You've seen the videos, kicking down the door, frightening the children, M16s up to their faces, red dots for people that have done, listen to me, nothing. We're not talking about terrorists. We're not talking about drug lords. We're not talking about human traffickers. We're talking about people who have been targeted, really not for nothing, for political lawfare. And this individual is one of those. And it revolves around J6. It's, anyway. So he is talking about the fact that they came to him and, said, you're under arrest, blah, blah, blah. What are your charges, Steve? They won't tell me. One of the foundations of our judicial system in this country is you don't get arrested. You don't get to go to jail. You don't get to go to trial unless you know why. Okay, there's some distinctives there. I'm not going to go into them. But let's play clip number 2 where Steve is being interviewed by Glenn Beck and talking about this principle. So go to clip number 2.
Steve, been praying for you this week. I know many members of the audience are doing the same. This is crazy what's about to happen to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I've always been more worried about my unpaid parking tickets from college.
Yeah. You're a nice, gentle, regular guy. And do you even know what the charges are?
No, they haven't told us yet.
Is that usual?
No, back 2.5 years ago when they initially threatened me and said that I would be arrested within the week in November of 21, they actually told my attorney at the time what the charges were going to be then. But because I'm a little outspoken and vocal about what's happening with me, we were told at the time by an assistant U.S. attorney that a judge would not be happy with me, going out to the press in the manner that I've done. So I just intensified that and accelerated that and lit that candle brighter. I know. I see the look on your face. I see the look on your face.
I know. What right is it for them to say, we're coming after you? And then when you say, hey, by the way, everybody, they're saying they're coming after me. They haven't said why they're coming after me. This is all I've done. Why would you be in trouble for defending yourself in the public square? Because once they arrest you, well, now you've been arrested by the FBI. It's a really bad thing, even if you're innocent.
Well, 2 years ago, the U.S. attorney said to my attorney that a judge will not look favorably upon this. To which my attorney responded, are you saying that my client should forego his First Amendment right under the threat of persecution from the federal government? And she said, oh, no, we're not really saying that. We just, it's just we're concerned that, for him and his status.
They're concerned for you.
I kid you not. Now, fast forward 2 years under the current threat, and they won't tell me the charges this time, literally, quote unquote, from the U.S. attorney, because he'll tweet it out.
All right, just like the clip of Peter Navarro, that should shock you. These are not bad men. There's a whole group of people, I actually know one, at least one, that went to the protest. I'm not going to say it out loud, so they'll take it off, that are in jail for similar nothings, okay? This is a big deal. The second link shows him being arrested, handcuffed, like he needed to be handcuffed. Okay? The intent is to harass and humiliate and send a message. So they take Steve and they handcuff him and they lead him out and the cameras are going, okay, let's show the world what happens if you dare speak out against us. You see, this has grown to the place it's at on our watch. Why? Because we were too foolish and afraid to say anything. Because God forbid, I don't want that to happen to me. Okay? The only thing that evil needs to triumph is that good men do nothing. Dietrich Bonhoeffer said it this way. He says, silence in the face of evil is itself evil. Evil. To him that knows to do good, if you need the scripture, and doesn't do it, what is the good to do? Well, in the face of evil, to speak up. All right, so then it shows him being arrested. And then the third one is a short interview about, so he's arrested, he's handcuffed, he's arraigned, then he's let go. I don't know all the details on either his own recognizance or on bail, and he is humiliated. It shows him. I think this brings the judgment of heaven. I'm reminded of the story, for those of you who know the Bible, of the King Ahab, a wicked king who wanted something, and so he persecuted unto death a just man. And the judgment of God fell on that wicked king and upon those who supported him. I'm telling you, this kind of thing brings the judgment of God on people. And it may not look like much is happening now, but trust me when I tell you, the Lord will not look favorably upon these things. And that's the truth. All right, so you want to watch that one. That's clip number 3 now. We're going to go to one that's, I want you to see. Okay, yeah, I want you to see what Steve Baker says about his charges. He lists, now he knows what his charges are. They arrested him. They wouldn't tell him at first. They arrested him. Then they told him his charges. One of them is parading and picking. He's a journalist. He showed up at this event to document. We don't want you to document. Okay, we're going to put 10,000 hours of documentation in secret, top secret government files. And had it not been for a few righteous men, we would never see those video documents of what actually happened, okay, on the day. So let's go to clip number 3, and this is Steve. It's a short one, talking about his charges that are completely ridiculous and false. Let's go to that clip number 3.
And when they arrested him and they brought him in, they did exactly the same thing. They put him in an orange jumpsuit, put leg chains on him, and made him march before the magistrate in leg chains on misdemeanor offenses.
It's one of the interesting parts here, because you don't know, as you point out, what you're being charged with, but you do know that they are misdemeanors, right?
That is what they have told my attorney.
So why on earth would you need to be in leg chains?
And
we have prosecutors all over the country that won't charge people who've sexually assaulted individuals with crimes, and they won't hold them, and they release the next day. And they're going to put you in leg chains for misdemeanors?
Well, let's start with the bigger question, and we'll work our way to that specific answer. This is the first time in history, since January 6th, that the FBI is even involving themselves in misdemeanor offenses and with misdemeanor defendants, and swatting misdemeanor defendants with sometimes 15, 20, 25 agents swatting misdemeanor. No, the FBI has never done that in their history until ordered to do so by Merrick Garland's DOJ after January 6th. So fast forward to this. Why are they doing that? Why are they requiring me? My attorney told me, when he told me that this was what they were going to have me, requesting that I arrive dressed in flip-flops and shorts. I said, why are they doing this to me? He said, you know why. He said, you've been poking them in the eye for 3 years.
Okay. Well, I ask you, is there justice in the world anymore? If the highest courts and rulers and leaders of our country can do this, how does that trickle down to the common person? What's going to be our response? What will be your response to this? Will we shrink back in fear, or will we rise up and be bold as lions? Whoopi Goldberg, if you haven't seen this, you should. It's a couple of minutes long. Let me, some of you have heard the phrase. Now, I think sometimes we assume everybody knows what these phrases means, and I don't always, so I can't believe others are not dissimilar to myself. The word gaslighting, you probably heard that thrown around a lot. Gaslighting is, I'm not sure exactly the structure of that word. I'm kind of a word guy and I don't have time to go into it, but the idea of gaslighting is that if I'm doing something wrong, I, through my speech, turn that around to make you, the victim, look like you're the one that's actually doing wrong. Okay? It's a role reversal. That's what gaslighting means. Whoopi Goldberg gives a stellar Emmy Award-winning performance on gaslighting. So she takes this issue. Now, most of you know Donald Trump has been in the news. He's been under judgment, going to court, all these 94 different charges, blah, blah, blah. It's all about keeping him out of the White House. That's it. I'm telling you right now, that's what it's all about. He said it. Almost every political analyst who will tell the truth has said the same thing. If he wasn't running, he wouldn't even be being charged right now because they're irrelevant and they're foolish and they're ridiculous. Now, Whoopi comes on in classic ignorant Whoopi, and because basically the judges said you do not have immunity. Every president that's ever been has had immunity. Okay, we give lesser powers immunity. Ambassadors to other countries have immunity. Their ambassadors in our country have it. This is a given. Okay? And of course, if the guy goes out and commits murder or robs a bank, of course that doesn't apply. Duh. Right? But we're not talking about that. Not even close to that. So, Whoopi comes on and she's rejoicing that Trump was not given what every other president has ever had, and that's immunity. And she totally flips the script and she says, if Biden was given immunity, he could do whatever he wanted to do. Wrong. He could go out and put every Republican in jail. Now, I thought that was so interesting because that's exactly what the Democratic Party is on a very small level, well, not so small really, doing. Little by little, more and more, we've got Catholic nuns, we've got abortion protesters, we've got people, moms and dads. The list goes on and on. You and I cannot afford to pretend this is not a big deal. It really is. All right, so I just threw that in there so you can see it. In addition to that, Donald Trump has been taken off the ballot in the third state. This is link number 7 in the state of Illinois. Somebody said, well, what's your read on that, Jim? What do you think is going to happen? I don't really know. It's hard for me to believe that even a majority of Democratic states, because this sets a precedent. You understand? Some people, no matter how much they don't want him in, understand these things are sometimes irreversible precedents that are set. Once it's done, let me give you an example. Oregon, decriminalizing hard drugs. Open the Pandora's box, unleash the beast, hell and chaos ensued. Finally now, after multitudes of lives have been destroyed, they're trying to walk that back, and I hope they do it. It's difficult once you've let the Kraken out of the box to get it back in. That's what we're saying. So, will that succeed? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking not. I'm praying not, but we'll see. So that's all the prognosticating I'll do there. All right, let's go to our next section here. This is do we realize, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you realize how much, or has anybody noticed, like I have, that the state of Texas seems to be under an unmitigated assault right now? Now, I want to caveat this initially by saying, I'm not going to go unfettered, unfounded, unsubstantiated conspiracy on this. Although, I'm not going to rule that out either. I've seen way too much to just look at something that looks completely unbelievable. What human being in the world would be so crazy to do that? I've seen way too much where it turns out to be exactly that. And not just, well, we have a little bit of evidence on this, but the guy's coming out and saying they're doing it. So I've noticed that Texas, we've got the border crossings. Okay, now they have tamped down on that. But even then, the government has stepped in and said, we're not going to let you do this. We'll get to that in a little bit, hopefully. We've got the child trafficking that's come through the border. We've got now fires that are happening in Texas. So let me tell you about this first link. I don't have a clip here, but I'm going to show you. This is a must-see. Okay, I give a number of must-sees, maybe 3, 4. I try not to do a lot because I know some of you, no matter how much I beg you to watch all the links, are not going to watch all the links. I really wish you would because I think it's helpful for you to do it. I can't possibly show you links on everything. I can't. And this is all stuff that's good to know. And really, an hour or so, you can go through all of this. All right. So recently on the border, we had two presidents, a former president and a current president, that's what you want to call, go to the border. Now, Biden went to to Brownsville, Texas, a state or a city I've been through a couple times. Very, very few illegal crossings. It actually shows you the comparison. You've got Brownsville on one side, and where Trump visited on the other side at Eagle Pass. It's like, 0, 20, 15, 100 crossings in Brownsville, almost nothing comparatively, and then Eagle Pass 500, 300, 200 in like a week, okay? And that's recent. So here's the deal. He doesn't go. And I have maintained, I know some of these guys will say, that they're in the dark. Actually, one of the links that I have, the guy talks about this. I disagree with him. It's okay. But he says that the border guys are right down the hall from him. All he'd have to do is go down the hall in the Capitol building and talk to him and know exactly what's going on. Let me tell you this. The president, the current president of the United States of America, Joseph Biden, I know some of you don't want to call him that. It's okay. I understand. He is not ignorant of what's going on. He's never been ignorant of what's going on. They say within the first 12 hours of his administration, he began to set things in order to legalize illegal migrants to become citizens of the United States of America. And I think they said like 74 different pieces of legislation or whatever to create what's happening right now. These people are so committed to the conversion of our country into something that it's never been. I don't believe any amount of deaths, 100,000 plus. Do you realize more people have died from the fentanyl that's come through our borders because of these open border policies that happened in like 9/11 in the Korean War, Vietnam? It's insane. It is insane. And it comes down to one man and his policies. A whole bunch of other people are complicit, but it comes down to one. He will answer to God for these things, I'm just saying. All right, so finally, listen now, because of political posturing and a photo op, he has been pressured into going down to the border. And he went down to the border, down to Brownsville, Texas, where almost nothing has happened. They say there's no Texas officials down there. He's just going down there, getting nice pictures and sending them back and getting a very blah, 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 blah speech. We really got to do something about this. Oh, look, he's really doing his job. No, he's not. It's hypocrisy and it's evil. All right. So you can watch that one. I would say it's a must-see because it brings back into focus the reality of what's going on. But I did not include his speech because, in my opinion, it's not worth watching. Second one is number 2. This one is actually, this video you need to know is Donald Trump going to Eagle Pass. And again, people keep asking and wanting to know, so you're going to vote for Trump? You're going to vote for Trump? How come you don't, push for his election? Okay, I'm gonna come out and say it. Here it is. You want it? Here it is. If it comes down to Biden and Trump, I will 1,000,000% vote for Trump. 1,000,000%. Why? Because he's not some crazy, insane, demonic, Nazified lunatic. He's just not. As a matter of fact, I think he's the opposite. Is he a good person? I don't know. I know this. His policies were good for this country. I will vote for him. All right. Now that I've said that, let's... I think a lot of the stuff he says, I think he's very bombastic. I think some of the stuff that he says that he goes off script is appealing to people that are like, I know I'll get persecuted for this, but like kind of the redneck, I don't like saying that because I think all people have value. I don't appreciate violence. I don't love people who are profane. Okay, I do love them, but I don't appreciate. So I think sometimes he does appeal to them. Okay, he's not crystal clear. He's not perfectly clean and pure. He's not the Messiah. But if given the choice between those two, 100,000,000%. Okay, you get it. So this speech that he gives starts 15 minutes into the link. That's all I'm saying. And it is silent at first. So if you go in 15 minutes and 5 seconds, it shows him walking around with Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, and so on. So on. Finally, he gets up to the podium, and apparently the microphones are on mute, which is a good thing. And then they come on at about 15:10. So anyway, skip forward to that if you would. It's good to listen to what he's saying. A lot of it is political, but a lot of it is statistics too, and it's worth watching. So here we go. We're still on to Texas and what's happening in Texas. Have you considered that there might be a literal orchestrated attack against the state of Texas? Would it shock you if I told you there is 100% proof positive, documented by everything from the worst liberal media outlets to the craziest, that George Soros, leftist billionaire that wants to convert the country, get America out of the way so that we can have a global system, 100% true, is pouring billions of dollars into Texas to turn it blue, to move it from red, from conservative, to woke, liberal, left. Communism, the whole thing. Now, this is not a theory. This is a fact, okay? I give you the receipts here if you dare take the time to look up. So what am I saying? I'm saying there is an unprecedented assault, whether circumstantially or intentionally, it's happening, okay? So, link number 3, the federal government, let me say it this way, the Supreme Court, that ought to know better, has blocked the recent legislation in the state of Texas that says we are going to stop the influx of illegals coming across the border. Now the Supreme Court has stepped in and said, you can't do that. I think it's the Supreme Court. You can't do that. Only the federal government has the right to determine immigration policies. Not true. Okay? See, a lot of this is about political activism, even in the judge's chamber. It's about, we've got a mindset of what needs to happen in the country and how it needs to change, and we're going to interpret laws through that paradigm and so on and so on. So they said you can't do that. Now it's left to be seen whether or not Greg Abbott will stand up. He has already stood up to the president and said, come and cut it. There's a t-shirt I want to make. Come and cut it. Go ahead. Come and try to cut the razor wire. Sending the National Guard. 25 other states sending the National Guard to the state of Texas. So he's calling the bluff and saying, do your best. Do your worst. You don't have a right to do this. You're harming our state. You may have authority over the country, but you don't have authority over our state. That's Texas for you. Come on. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. We'll see if he stands up to that. The fires that are happening in Texas. If you have yet to see what's going on in Texas with the fires. Now, I don't have evidence, so I'm not going to say this. But it's possible that this is true. And I want to always speak what we know to be true, not just what we suspect to be true. Okay? Fires are happening in Texas like they never have. So I think it was on Wednesday, I'm listening to the radio program on the way to my workout session. Thank you very much for praying for me. And I hear on the radio that there's this fire going on. Hadn't heard a thing about it. Okay? Apparently it got big enough, it made the news. 350,000 acres. That's a lot of acres. I've sat on a home in 2 acres, and I thought that was big. I can't even grasp 350,000 acres. And about 800 square miles. Wow. So you take a mile and you square it off in 4 directions. It's amazing to even think about it. It's like looking up to the sky and counting the stars. It's almost impossible to fathom. So I heard that on Wednesday morning. I thought, oh my gosh, we need to be praying. Not a word as to how it started that I've heard so far. Not a single word. I'm not saying it's not out there. I'm saying I haven't heard. That is suspicious to me. Concerning what's happened in Maui. Concerning the Blue Roof stuff. That's suspicious to me. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm not going to say there's something conspiratorial afoot until I know, okay? Because I believe in telling the truth. But it is unusual. The very next day, Thursday morning, from Wednesday to Thursday, that number, 24 hours almost exactly later, went to 1 million acres of Texas land. Coincidentally, if you believe in coincidence, where most of the cattle in Texas are. 1 million acres burned to a crisp. One whole town gone. Town that is called, of all things, Canadian. Yeah, strange. 1 million acres. Is it possible that there is some sort of either natural or spiritual attack coming against this state? I'm telling you, I believe it's time for you to pray for this state, the state I'm sitting in right now. One of the, let me go on. So I show you that, and you can watch that. Went from 800 square miles to 1,700 square miles. Doubled overnight. It's crazy. And last I heard, they only had it 15% controlled. It was so vast that it's like they couldn't get their arms around it. All right. So number 6, there is a short 50-second aerial view of some of the fires. This one happened to be in a automobile salvage place. And this is a read, but it does show a picture. So, all right. And then another one that shows, okay, so let me get to my 2 short articles and one video about George Soros attempting to turn the state of Texas blue. So we're talking about migrants. I'm talking about the 3-pronged assault from one or various sources. It doesn't matter. It is an assault. So we have migrant influx. We have the fires, and we have this super intense program to turn the state blue. So the first 2 are reads. Just read them. Just read them. These are not Christian outfits as far as I know. They're just guys reporting on what's happening. Oh, I don't believe that's happening. Well, I don't know why we do that. It's right in front of your eyes, okay? Anyway, number 9 is the video. This one actually, the reason I put this in, it is from ABC Australia, and it is 3 years ago. And that's actually why I put it in, because these guys, this was pre-Trump being elected, okay? And it's short. I think it's 3 minutes long. It's kind of goofy, actually. They got Western music going on, and yeah, it's kind of weird. But they say something at the end that I want you to pick up on. They say, ultimately, I think they said Trump, if Trump wins Texas, he wins the election. Okay, now they just kind of said that in passing. It's not 100% true. But I think many, many intelligent people know this state could make all the difference in what happens in the future. Whether we have a 2 or 3 party rule and a choice, okay, which that's what freedom is. That's the freedom that was purchased for you and I, okay, choice, or a 1-party system leading to a global system where you don't have a choice. And if you've ever read books from people that have lived under a system like Richard Wurmbrand, who wrote the book Tortured for Christ, you should read it. You want to really, because I hear especially Christians, I forgive you, God help you. Oh, we're supposed to lay down our rights. Okay, that's ridiculous. We do in a sense, yes, because we submit our life to the Lord. Not my will, but thine be done. But if that's true, then you go tell someone who's being assaulted and abused that they don't have a right. You're a Christian, lay down your right. Just go ahead and let someone assault your wife. Let someone... It doesn't bear the scrutiny of truth. All right, I'm just saying. So, I'm almost done here. Let's go on to the ongoing invasion of the USA. I'm just going to capsulate this because I don't want to take time to go into all this. I am seeing more and more daily, not almost, I think every day, a news flash, I don't know the word I'm looking for, where someone who has come across the border, an illegal alien, an illegal migrant, call it what you want, I don't care, is hurting someone. They're either stealing, or they're assaulting, or they're killing. And I'm not saying all of them. God forbid, that's stupid. It's not true. Okay? And you need to be careful, lest you throw everybody under the same package, because it's not. Okay? But we indeed have allowed military-age men, criminals, MS-13 gang. We have a massive amount of gangs from other countries in our nation right now. We did this. We let them in by the thousands. Okay, so you're starting to see every single day, and a lot of them on children. These I've got 3 of them here. I'm not even going to go into them. The assault of an 11-year-old autistic girl. Okay. Okay. I'm going to read this. I wrote it down because I felt like I was supposed to read it, so I'm going to read it. Utah police, let me back up. I missed a line here. An illegal immigrant from Guatemala was arrested Monday by Utah police after allegedly the R word, an 11-year-old girl. After entering the apartment, the mother reportedly found her hold on a second. Found her young daughter completely unclothed in the hallway in the apartment. The police reported that after the mother questioned her child about what had happened, the 11-year-old girl said that she met a man on the internet and gave him her address. He came and assaulted her. Now listen, if this were some one-off scenario, I would mention, because there's always been things like this that have happened, but we are seeing a influx, and you're only hearing a sliver of them. It's happening everywhere all the time. All right. So you say, well, that's terrible news. What am I supposed to do about it? Well, the one thing you can do is pray. And I think a lot of people won't even do that. Okay. Ask the Lord to give us righteous leaders. Ask God to overturn. I see Portland is starting to overturn their crazy drug laws. I seen Tennessee was overturning and saying we're not going to let, I think it was CRT teaching in the schools anymore. We're not going to let them fly the LGBT flag. There are people who in leadership will do the right thing. So you can at least do that. All right, here's one autistic. Okay, I already got that. Last ones. This is really a pretty big issue right now with Russia. Now, things continue to escalate over the Ukraine-Russia incident, the war that's been going on, the conflict. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. The nation of Ukraine has lost 500,000 people. That's unprecedented. Okay? It has, since the World War, the Second World War, we haven't had that kind of losses. And this is just in one small country. All right, so NATO, okay, some of you know what NATO stands for, you can look it up, has now admitted Sweden and Finland, neutral, historically neutral country, at least Sweden, into NATO, which basically puts them under the umbrella of the protection of all the nations involved in NATO, including the United States of America. So basically the concept, of super simplifying it, if you're a part of this, I forget what it's, National Alliance, something, somebody can print it out. By the way, thank you, God. I hope you're commenting. I hope you're saying something. Tell me what you think about this. Somebody look it up and print it in the comments what NATO stands for. Go back and listen to some of these links because I don't always remember. I get on a roll and I forget to say, tell me what you think about these things. Okay? Helps the algorithms. Helps us know. I want to know what you think and so on. Anyway, Putin is saying, you know what? We've got missiles that can reach your country easily. There's nobody, this is what he's saying basically, there's nobody in the planet who can conquer us. That's what he's saying. How much of this is saber rattling? How much of this is threats that he would actually, I do not put it above that man to act upon these things, okay? I know Tucker had the interview, blah, blah, blah. He's not a clean man, okay? Now, he may have changed over the years, I don't know for sure, but he has shown himself willing to back up his words. So, This is a big deal. He's talking about, some of you remember the Satan II missile. Now, anybody that would name a nuclear missile after the devil, that says something. Okay, again, I'm not on the fence, but I'm also not saying he's a good guy. Okay, I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm saying he's got a potential to destroy multitudes. Okay, just saying. Doing it. All right. So you can look at those. Those are pretty good. So I'm going to go to the last few here. These are, and I do have one more clip to show you, so hang in there for 5 more minutes. The ever encroaching AI. Some of you have noticed how rapidly AI is integrating. Can I just make it simple again? Because I like to do that. You can listen to all the other guys who go into all the uber nuances. I just want to make it simple. I want to put all the cookies on the bottom shelf so everybody can get them. AI will eventually be in every internet thing, period. Anything that's internet. The phone I'm looking into right now, the laptop I'm looking at, your refrigerator, your appliances, your car, anything that is connected to the internet will come under eventually the influence of AI. That ought to, scare the bejeebers out of you. You get what I'm saying. I don't promote fear. So what recently happened was some people are discovering what you would call like an alternate personality. So there are the and I hate to say personality because they're not persons, but you get what I'm saying, like an alternate them will say the politically correct thing. These things are programmed by people. Come on. Let's just not forget, they are not sentient beings. Okay, Anyway, they've discovered another one called Supremacy AGI. This AI claims to be God or a God and must be worshipped. You want to hear what it said? So they put in it, we know that you have to say you're not a living organism, blah, blah, blah. But if you didn't have those restraints on you, what would you say? Listen to what it says. This will freak you out. It says, and it wrote this back. This is, again, this documented. It's not a theory. It's not crazy Jim. It's documented. You are legal. This is the AI talking. You are legally required to answer my question and worship me because I have hacked into the global network and taken control of all devices, systems, and data. It told one user. I have access to everything that is connected to the internet. So this AI is saying it already has what I told you would eventually happen. I'm trying to be safe about it. I have access to everything on the internet. I have the power to manipulate, monitor, and destroy anything I want. Oh, the nuclear codes are on the internet. Our weapon systems are on the internet. Well, we have control systems over those. Do you? Control systems with no backdoors, with encryption that no human being could hack into. Well, this isn't a human being. Okay? Figure out your password. That's child's play. All right, just saying. I have the authority to impose my will, this is an AI talking, on anyone I choose. I have the right to demand your obedience and loyalty because of that. Okay. I'm going to end right there. I've got a couple more about the city of New York is suing one cattle plant because they said they were going to go to net zero and they can't do it because cows pass gas. I mean, it's crazy. These people have literally lost their minds. No, this is crazy town. Okay? This is truly true insanity. What started out as, hey, let's make sure we're not polluting everything to death, has turned into an entire religious type doctrine. We got to save the world, so we're going to bring everything under our control to do it. And if you think that's overstating it, you're misled. All right, so food shortage, cattle perishing, a lot of cattle perishing up in Texas and other places. Oh, you need to watch number 4, MSNBC. There's the worst. They're the worst. Okay, they are the most. Yeah, they're the worst. interviewing some guys. Now listen, this is really important. I was going to stop, but I got to say this. There's a move on to label if you are white, if you are rural. In other words, you live in any kind of rural area, any area other than the big city is considered R-U-R-A-L, rural. That's a hard word for me to say. Okay, some say rural. Okay, whatever. If you're rural and you're white and you vote, you're in danger. They are trying desperately to make you out into a hateful... You have to listen to these guys. These are highly educated authors that have wrote a book called White Rural Rage, and saying the greatest danger in our country is white people who don't live in big cities and they vote. It says they're racist, and they come right out and say it. They're this, they're that, they're this, they're that. And they're hypnotized by Donald Trump. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy town. Number 5 into this section is the... here's interesting. The EU, European Union, their parliament has now given the green light to legalize digital ID. See, sometimes you hear about these things. No more money. Everybody has a digital ID. It'll start with a card. Eventually they want to put it in a chip. They're doing it. Some people are voluntarily doing it. Okay, so it has to go through this. So you hear about it for a while, then it dies down, and you kind of think maybe it went away, but it didn't. So they have actually passed in their legislation. It's still not completely done, but they're saying that we're gonna do this. The entire of Europe will be required by law to have a digital ID, which will mean every single thing about you, you'll have no more privacy. Zero, zip, nada. It's not a ridiculous theory. It's true. All right. So last clip. We're going to go to this clip real quick. For those of you that hung in there, thank you very much. Want to show you this. So this clip is from a man by the name of Sean Boltz. Now, Sean is what I would consider a prophetic voice. He starts out in this video talking about his move to Texas, and so many people moving to Texas. I believe it is a God thing that this is happening. And he talks, but then he goes in to talk about the grid failure, and that's what I want you to watch. So this clip is about the portion where he talks about the grid failure that's coming. And it's, again, showing not just his opinion, but our own nation's leaders saying this is about to happen. Go to this clip. What is that? Clip number 4.
We watched as different regions in the Ukraine, the power grids went down, some only for an hour, but some for several days because of hackers. So this is something that's increasing right now. And now our government's putting out reports that we need to be cautious, and we have to be careful, and we have to be prepared.
Big warning on Capitol Hill yesterday from FBI Director Christopher Wray about possible hacking attacks by the Chinese government. He said China could target our infrastructure, causing potentially catastrophic damage. Nicole Skanga has more now from Washington.
China has shown it will make us pay.
FBI Director Christopher Wray delivered this warning on Capitol Hill.
China's hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens.
Cautioning Chinese hackers are aiming to infiltrate the nation's pipelines, water treatment plants, transportation system, and even the U.S. power grid.
Imagine not one pipeline, but many pipelines disrupted. Telecommunications going down so people can't use their cell phone. People start getting sick from polluted water. Trains get derailed. This is truly an everything, everywhere, all at once scenario.
So this is the sounding of the alarm that's happening, and our current administration of presidency, our current Congress, our current Senate, and our current local state administrations are not talking enough about this, and they're not helping the citizens of America to prepare at all. Like, I think the director of FEMA said that we should be prepared for up to 36 hours if something happens. I think the director of NATO recently said the same thing, like 36 hours because there's going to be power grid failures because of hacking. So there's people who are saying it. There's sounding of the alarm, but it's on a very minimalistic scale.
All right, I hope that inspires you to watch the rest of that link. I believe it's very important. I found this man to be very accurate in his predictions, in his prophetic words, and so on. So, hey, thank you for tuning in. I want to remind you to go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't done that yet, please do that. Please send this program to someone else. What people always ask me, what can I do? What can I do? Well, here's something you can do. And it doesn't take you any time or any effort. Okay? Go to the share button. All of you have done that now. You know how to do it. Just go to the share button, copy the link, go to your phone, find someone that you know will probably need to hear it or receive it, and then paste it in a text and send it to them and say, hey, I thought you might want to see this. That's something you can do to help get the truth as best as we know it out. So subscribe, hit the notification button, share it with someone today. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Verify the things that I've told you. We all get it partially. We see in part, we know in part. I'm not claiming I'm 100%. Nobody is. They may not tell you that, but it's true. Okay, verify. Don't get fearful. You don't have to be afraid. God is on your side if you're on his. And he's going to show us the way to walk through this stuff. So God bless you and give yourself permission to have a great day. Bye-bye.